Welcome to another broadcast of Truth Be Told, where we believe an experience becomes truth. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and joining me now in studio is your other host, Captain Ron. On March 11th of this year will be the 6th anniversary of the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Just a day ago, Japan said Fukushima residents can return home despite NGO report warning of high radiation level. 6 years later, and it's still not only affecting Japan, but the world. Today, we're going to have a scientist. We're going to have the founder and president of Rejuvenation Research and Development. Yes, we have Dennis Watts on the show, and his passion and purpose is to understand the roots of consciousness, energy, and nutrition as it relates to the body. But today, we're going to focus on the results of Fukushima, how it is affecting us today, how it's going to affect generations to come, possibly thousands of years. Can we reverse the outcome of this devastation? Or what is the truth behind Fukushima? Was it man-made? Was it the earthquake? Today we'll find out. At least we're going to try. So today we're adding Dennis Watts to the list of amazing guests that Truth Be Told has had on the show. And we hope that you learned something today from this presentation. So please welcome to Truth Be Told, Dennis Watts. Welcome, welcome, Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this platform.
Well, no, listen, this is a topic that I've wanted to talk about, and Captain Ron and I want to talk about for a long time. And I think it's...
about 6 years.
6 years, right? Well, somebody needs to talk about it.
Yeah,
nobody's
absolutely.
talking about it. So I know, your introduction, you have just a list of things that you've done over your lifetime, but we can go over that in a little bit. But I know Captain Ron had a question for you to start it off. Just get us going.
Listen, before we even get into the Fukushima stuff, which is going to be fascinating, we just found out this week or last week that Trump's going to go ahead and let the pipeline go through where we've been following that story up in the Dakotas. And we did a show about that for an hour. And now that that's happening, I just happened to mention it to Dennis, and he's got a wealth of information he's willing to share with us, which I really, really appreciate. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that situation,
Well,
Dennis?
yes, I do have some insight because I am very, very passionate about the environment. The last 40 some odd years, I've been a rocket scientist for all intent and purpose. Did a lot of work for NASA, did a lot of work for DARPA, one of a kind, what-if type projects. And so I'm used to solving really hard problems. I've been hammered so much like samurai steel, so I just cut through any kind of challenge with the greatest of ease for all intent and purpose. And what I have basically found out, while I was, going and building spacecraft and solving all these kind of problems around that, my main passion was always health and healing. I spent my money, learning about health, learning about healing on all levels, studying Chinese medicine, studying Ayurvedic medicine, studying herbology, nutrition, massage, all these kinds of things to keep the body flowing and functioning to the fullest extent. But after all those thousands and hundreds of books of going through that and learning all that, I found out we really aren't going to make any progress unless the earth is vibrating to support life. And so now I'm retired from rocket science for all intent and purpose.
So am I.
Yeah. And the massage part, he always tries to say. Yeah.
What I decided to do was how could I still use my skill for solving hard problems? And the environment has some really doozies out there. Radiation is just one of many. And solving pollution problems around large bodies of water, solving the pollution in the air, cleaning the smog, and just returning the vibration such that it will support life. And that is what my passion is in this moment. And anytime I see a major challenge on the planet anywhere, I instantly go into problem-solving mode and try to figure out what, in fact, is it going to take to restore balance.
We need people like this guy, I'll tell you. That's so awesome that you even think and come from that aspect. That's awesome.
Right. Now, I want the audience to kind of know this is how my brain is wired right now, so you'll understand why in the world would you take your time to try to solve a problem like Fukushima?
Right.
we need people to do that, though. That's so wonderful.
Because too many people, majority of the people are looking the other way, and they're just saying, oh, it's not affecting me, but it is.
Yes.
It is. Under this new administration, even under Obama, even the environmental, he did a lot. Obama did a lot for the environment, but a lot of people still don't believe that we're polluting the planet. But you have a lot of scientists saying yes, we are, but then you also have scientists that say we're not. So
how does it work?
How do they?
Let me just get back to his first question.
Good. Okay.
And then I will weave all that up.
And then after the show, he'll talk to you about your issues there, Tony. Go ahead.
We need to understand that there may be about 3 different types of uranium that is in the crust of the earth. And the Creator made that uranium for a specific purpose, to serve the creation as a whole. You'll say uranium A is used to make coal. Uranium B is used to make gems like diamonds and rubies and sapphires and all these things. And then you have uranium C. That's used to make oil. Now, I know we've been taught that oil, in essence, is a what do you call fossil fuel made from old dead dinosaurs. That's not true.
See, I hate that everything I knew growing up was wrong.
Yeah.
Oil is something that is generated by the planet for the purpose of maintaining the balance of our rotation and maintaining the balance of the Earth on its axis. So the Earth generates and creates this stuff in order to survive.
So we're taking the air out of the tire,
so to speak.
Yeah.
That's what is happening. And we're disrupting that process. But whenever you're building pipelines and pumping this stuff out of the ground, remember it was made with the help of uranium C, as an example. And uranium C has a low grade of radiation. It is not as harmful as plutonium or polonium. Those are the ones that have been concentrated thousands of times by man, and that is unbelievably toxic. Number one toxic pollutant on the planet is plutonium and polonium. 1 microgram of that will make your life go sideways, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, let's go back and understand that when oil is pumped out of the ground, it all has a low-grade radioactive signature to it. That is same for coal. When you pull it out of the ground, it's going to have a low-grade radioactive signature to it.
Did you know this? I would have never known this.
And one thing from a country boy, you're smart talking, I understand. You make it where people can understand it.
This is great.
Now, what happens is something called the Wigner effect. This is a guy named Wigner that figured out that low-grade radiation has a tendency to embrittle because of the ionization. Everything it touches, it disrupts how atoms link and hold together. Things become brittle as a result. So in reality, you cannot contain radioactive elements of any kind. It will eventually get out. It may take 5, 10, 15 years. It will eventually get out. That's what's happening with the pipeline, is that all of this shale oil going through there, it's got a low-grade radioactive signature. It will eventually figure out how to embrittle its pathway, the pipeline, and it will break. It will be horrendously.
So it's just a matter of time before all pipelines will fail?
Yes.
Well, they pretty much have.
And they pretty much know that, so they constantly know to monitor it. With helicopters looking for these cracks and breaks that are eventually going to happen. But they probably haven't connected the dots into the level.
You can't see those under the water when you're with a helicopter, right? And that's what they want to do here, right?
And absolutely. And that is their water supply for millions of people. And that is what Chief Black Fox wants to understand, that it is vitally important they do everything in their power through the legal pathways to stop this process from happening, because it's going to be devastating for all of the water supplies. And they say, oh, don't worry, we're using high-grade steel. No.
Made in America.
Made in America. That's not going to make any bit of a difference, because you cannot contain radiation. It will embrittle metal. It will embrittle glass. It will embrittle concrete. It will embrittle eventually even lead.
So there's nothing on this planet that can
contain it.
Isn't that what we do with our radioactive waste? Is we contain it in?
We try to contain it and bury it deep in the in the earth, which is sick because that's going to eventually find its way out. And if you look at what's going on in New Mexico right now, you will find that they are experiencing unbelievable amounts of radioactivity in and around their atmosphere and in their environment because they store an enormous amount of radioactivity under the ground. And then when you add that along with the heat, along with other things that are going on, it just adds to the overall pollution in the environment across the whole United States. It's not something that's just going to stay in that area. It mixes into and becomes part of our environmental process.
So, I mean,
our weather.
You know, Fukushima was 6 years ago, but we've had other, I mean, maybe not quite as bad. Chernobyl was mentioning one of them earlier when we were talking earlier. Going back, I mean, we can see the long term, at least from that point. So when was Chernobyl? Maybe 20 years, 25 years
1986, September.
So, So there's nothing that's getting better with Chernobyl, correct?
That is correct. Now, in the process of me coming up with and trying to present solutions to the world for Fukushima, the Russians found out about what I was doing, and they want to participate in some way, shape, or form with the hope that we will also take Chernobyl into consideration because it's been over 30 some odd years, and that concrete is embrittled due to the Wigner effect, and they know it's going to rear its ugly head. But they don't want to just bury it under concrete again. It would be really nice if we could just eliminate the problem of the radiation. We believe we have solutions for that. Ladies and gentlemen, keep that in the forefront of your mind. We do have solutions for eliminating radiation.
I've never heard of
neutralizing radiation. Now, when I first presented this problem back in, the problem happened in March of 2011. April, May timeframe, I had sent a copy of a presentation for how to solve this to the Department of Defense because I knew I was going to need their assets in order to make this work. This is not something one corporation or one person or either one country can do. This was a big problem, and at that time, it was global in scope as far as its impact on the environment. And the reason, of course, is because reactors number 1, number 3 exploded. Now, number 2 would have exploded, but the concussion blew the windows and doors off, and the hydrogen was able to escape. But nonetheless, it still went in critical and went through a meltdown process. And as a result, we have a China syndrome in reactors 1, 2, 3, and number 4, its roof got blown off because of the exhaust and its connections to 3. The hydrogen built up and blew the roof off, and now you have these exposed fuel rods that are just leaking regularly into the atmosphere. Yes, they're underwater, but it's extremely critical, and the radiation is so high, no one can get close to really solving the problem. So,
you don't want it in the water either, though, right? Isn't it also bad to have it leak into the water?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And I'm going to talk about that just in a minute. But I want you to understand what's really going on presently in Fukushima as we understand it. And the bottom line is, if these rods were to touch, they go critical, which means is the zirconium coating in the pellets start to melt, fuse, turn into like a hot lava that can be anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 degrees.
Wow.
So that's what they are hoping and praying another intense earthquake doesn't happen so that this fragile building that was damaged by the first earthquake and all the other activity, they want to do their best to keep that up and running water to keep that from going critical. But that's just number 4. But the other 3 did go critical. And as a result, the fuel rods, which is about 600 pounds per, they did melt. They went through the first level of containment and through second level of containment. They just found or took pictures with a robot about 3 weeks ago. And they found a giant hole in the grating. Now, the grating is steel. The grating, if you were to melt it, it would take about 1,500 degrees to melt it.
Is this the picture? Sorry.
Yes, that's the
All
picture.
right, let's show it so the people can see it.
This is a hole that they found in the bottom of reactor 2. And that tells me that was the China syndrome. That went into the ground, into the groundwater, and it probably ended up out into the ocean. And that was my main concern when I first saw the explosions, was what's going to happen to the phytoplankton. Within the first 30 feet of the ocean exists this civilization of microbes we call phytoplankton. And there's the little microbes. Nobody thinks twice about these guys.
Right.
But they are the ones that produce anywhere from 70 to 80% of the oxygen that goes into our atmosphere. Most people don't think about that.
And this is the first thing he thought of. That's amazing.
That's what came to mind.
Right.
And what's happening is, if this is happening and we got radioactivity going out into the Pacific Ocean, what's happening to their life cycle?
Right.
And I'm concerned. If they are producing anywhere from 70 to 80% of the oxygen in our atmosphere, and a healthy atmosphere would have about 38% oxygen. And keep in mind that oxygen actually carries the life force. Without it, everything just perishes, dies. It cannot survive.
Well, here's my thought, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but just thinking like as an everyday person, I would say, oh, it's going to get out in the ocean. It's a huge ocean. It's just going to get diluted.
That's exactly what the experts believe. And that's what I found out whenever I was working with Sandia Laboratories to prove that we had something that can neutralize radioactivity. And we were having a conversation with some of the experts at Sandia in New Mexico. And that was the exact thing. Oh, the solution to pollution is dilution. Don't worry. And I said, my heart dropped to the floor, and I said, oh, no, this is my world-class experts. And I said, oh, we in trouble.
I hate when they say that. I hate when they say that about like an oil spill or about anything, or even in the air.
We in trouble. If this is how my experts are going to be thinking.
Intuitively, it scares me.
That's my world-class experts telling me that don't worry, this is going to be diluted because of the vastness of the Pacific Ocean. So don't concern yourself.
So why isn't it diluted? Why isn't it
diluted?
Yeah.
It's because there is a constant stream. There's a constant assault of radiation moving into the ocean at the rate of 300 to 400 tons per day.
Oh, wow.
Wait, you mean still?
Still, to this day.
6 years later, this much radiation is still flowing out into
the ocean. They've been trying their best to contain it. Everything they've tried has failed. They tried to set up an ice wall so they could contain it. But how do you make an ice wall when there's high levels of heat? I did not comprehend that in my mind.
What they have done is kept it out of the news. You don't hear about Fukushima at all now.
Well,
at all.
Right now, back in February of 2016, they did indict 3 of the top people out of TEPCO because of all the false information they had been giving to the public.
Wow.
But of course, they're going to court saying, we're innocent,
Yeah.
we didn't know, but the bottom line is our planet, not just Fukushima, not just Japan, but the Pacific Ocean, and we're downwind from all this.
We're LA, we're right across the ocean from that. I mean, far, but.
And this is something that radiation does not dilute. It's like a ghost. It moves through walls. It can go anywhere it wants, and the strength of it in Fukushima is the same as the strength of it in Philadelphia on the East Coast. And that's exactly what happened. You probably never heard that infant mortality rates in Philadelphia went up through the roof because of iodine-131. And
because of Fukushima?
Is that from the evaporation and acid rain is what they used to call it?
Absolutely. It integrates into the high atmosphere, where we get our rain and our clouds, and they go everywhere. That's part of the environment. That's part of the ecology of the planet.
Could that cause weather patterns to change at all?
Yes, it can change the patterns and make them more toxic. For sure. In other words, the rain that comes down and moves into the pastures, and the grass is eaten by the cows, and the cows eat highly concentrated radioactivity and make our butter and our milk and our cheese and cottage cheese and yogurt. We consume it. It may be small, but it accumulates. It hangs around, and then the next thing you know, why do I have leukemia? I'm a healthy person. Why do I have diabetes? I do things right. I don't eat that much sugar. Why am I getting a heart attack? Why am my circulatory system is all jacked up? What happened? I'm a healthy person. I don't smoke. And I believe it's because it's just too much of this toxicity flowing around in the high atmosphere. We just had a lot of rain. It brings that stuff down to the ground, and we're sloshing and walking around in it, tracking it everywhere. And people have been dragging their bleeps around, trying to figure out, why do I feel so exhausted? Why am I so tired?
I have felt exhausted this entire year, and part of it's probably this rain.
And that's exactly what because it happened to me.
Really?
It happened to me.
You physically feel more tired from the rain.
And I'm like a Ferrari with a 12-cylinder engine. And I'm up here walking around. Where are my 12 cylinders? My cylinders are the little mitochondria inside each cell. I like to think I have maybe 12 of those per cell. So I got a lot of energy. But it's like I'm running on maybe 5 or 6 of those guys instead of all 12.
Wow.
It's really interesting that he said that, because we've been talking how tired I've been this whole year since all this rain.
Yes.
Now, doesn't this also get into the water and then fish and all that too? So you're getting it from that and the air, right?
That's exactly right. Now, that's the thing that I'm trying to get you to understand, is because the ocean has the intelligence to neutralize radiation. If I just assault it once, it has the mineral, it has the intelligence, the consciousness, the awareness to neutralize the toxicity of the radioactivity, and the life gets on and moves on. But if I'm constantly assaulting you and you don't have the time to recover and recuperate and bring in the necessary minerals to build your compounds and your hyper-intelligent molecules to break this stuff down properly, you're not going to heal. And as a result, my oysters, which are very important for the health of the ocean because they filter, they're bottom feeders, and they filter the water and bring clean water back and make sure oxygen is properly distributed so all the fish can breathe. They need oxygen too. And what's happening is if the phytoplankton we were talking about cannot produce the oxygen, we're going to have a lot of carbonic acid in the ocean. And if that carbonic acid, that means that the oysters can't build shells. We have no oysters, we have no shellfish, and they can't do their part of distributing oxygen even if it was present. So as a result, the whole ocean ecology is turned upside down, and therefore the hierarchy is disrupted. The life cycle is disrupted, and therefore the small herring cannot produce.
Have we noticed a drop in
big time? Dana Dunford went up and down the West Coast looking for these guys and can't find it. He's just finding all these pristine, clean rocks, meaning no microbe activity, no moss, no life, no microbes, none of these little tiny scurrying things that would normally be bottom feeders to manage and build and correct the ocean floor like it's supposed to, like God originally intended. All that is already disrupted. We're in the midst of an extinction level event. It's only a matter of time before the oxygen levels in the atmosphere gets down so low that it can't properly build the ozone layer properly. And if the ozone layer doesn't build properly, that means I get cosmic radiation and gamma radiation from space coming down. And
so we're never going to get triple dose.
Right. That's the next level. Now, it was maybe 2, 3, 4 months ago. I was in a meeting down in Costa Mesa. There were about 8 of us. And there was 5 or 6 of the people talking about them scheduling their cataract surgery. Now, in my mind, I knew there was a major problem. Oh, yeah, I got this really good doctor for my cataracts. Oh, I'm planning to use the same doctor, and I need to make appointments as well. And I'm saying, oh, my God, it's already happening. And they were talking about going to get cataract surgery, and I knew immediately we're already experiencing low levels of oxygen, low levels of ozone in the upper atmosphere that protects us from the gamma radiation that comes from space. And I know about that stuff, kind of. And as a result, that was concerning to me. Now, I know what I need to do to keep cataracts from growing by taking extra doses of vitamin C, eating lots of berries. Take note, people. Take note. Pull out your paper.
Well, seriously, tell us what we should do.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yes.
this will tell what would because this is going on, and it's great that you're pointing out. I think this should be what's on the news every night. It's not. It's whatever nonsense is going on, but this should be the news.
Yes.
What would you recommend for people that are now aware of what's happening to the ocean and the air and this?
Our ecology is under attack on a big scale, and this rain, of course, is bringing down a lot of toxic waste. And it's concentrated on the ground right now, and we are tracking through it. And if you're wondering why your nose is bleeding spontaneously and why you're having bleeding gums spontaneously, and you know you don't have gingivitis and you're doing everything to take care of your oral health, but unfortunately you're still having a lot of this bleeding gums things and upper respiratory infections that don't go away in 3 to 7 days. They last for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. And
well, it's funny. I had surgery at the end of November. It's still not healed, and the doctor even said it should have been healed by now.
It
And
should have been.
I'm a fast healer.
Right.
And
That just means your immune system is corrupt or
Right.
compromised, and this most likely be due to high levels of background radiation impeding that process. And that's what we need to understand and observe. If you fly a lot in planes, you're getting a lot of extra radiation. And I'm really sorry for
Now, wait, why is that? Is that because of this Fukushima thing, or
That's
is this
because it's not contained. It's moving into the upper atmosphere, getting caught by the jet stream, and we're downstream from it. But that's not the case. This is all over the east and the west. I mean, we got airplanes and helicopters that are having problem because of the Wigner effect. Their blades are brittle, breaking, and they are crashing. Planes are landing, especially military planes are landing, and the windshield is falling out because the rivets have been worn out because of embrittlement. And you land,
That'd be a
you hit a
surprise.
shock,
You're like,
and the
what the-
windows fall out while you're trying to land. That's scary. And you land your plane, and the engine just kind of crumbles and falls apart and blows up on the tarmac. And the Wigner effect. And we've got to have our mechanics be aware of this, monitor this very, very closely from now on, because it is more and more intense.
Well, they must be doing something, because you don't hear about a lot of crashes or any inordinate. Nothing's changed that I've noticed. Or statistically, are there more crashes?
Well, yes.
There are.
There are, but a lot of them are close to the ground, especially when they are landing and the components are falling off the plane, and sometime in flight, the rivets are worn out due to the Wigner effect, and parts of the plane are flapping in the wind.
So there's been an increase in these type of
kind
things.
of things, right?
Interesting.
And if they catch it early, yes, you can repair it, but you don't want it to get to the point where it's fatal and everybody's, we're going to die. That's what you don't want to happen.
Well, I'm going to go back to the question when we first started is, again, there's scientists that say, yes, I agree that the pollution's there, the environment's going to hell, and then there's other ones that are like they'll fight to the tooth and nail just to say, no, this is not man-made, there's no pollution up there. So why are there discrepancies among scientists?
You've heard of conservatives, you've heard of liberal-type thinkers.
Right.
And you notice that everybody has their way of processing information and thinking and seeing and feeling. The same thing is happening across all genres of information, no matter where this is the scientific community, political community, the education community. Everybody has their ideas of what's going on. I'm simply just looking and observing what I'm seeing and interpreting the best way I can. Like, for instance, all of this gamma radiation that I'm seeing. Right now, normally, no, I shouldn't say it's not normal. Normal background radiation should be anywhere from 5 clicks to 20 clicks per minute. For the last few years, I've been monitoring the background radiation across the whole United States through a guy named Bob Nichols. And he puts out something called Veterans Today. And he puts out a report about every 2 weeks for all the cities that report what their background radiation is, alpha, beta, gamma particles. And on average, it was over 1,000 for like 57 cities across the United States.
It was supposed to be 5 to 20?
5 clicks to 20 clicks per minute. These are the cities that are reporting over 1,000 clicks per minute.
Jesus
we should
Christ.
be evacuating between 100 and 300 clicks per minute. But where are you going to evacuate to?
Because
Right, I say if it's everywhere, it's everywhere.
It's
right?
everywhere.
Yeah.
So as a result, we have to figure out what we're going to do to protect ourselves and protect our children, protect our family. And I need to just maybe take a moment and kind of go into what I've discovered that is helpful for remediating and eliminating these toxic particles out of our system. Because it's like a Russian roulette where you're just walking around and you can walk through a cloud and not know it. Mm-hmm. And you can be inhaling this stuff into your system and not know it. Just all of a sudden, why am I dragging my... And as a result, why am I so exhausted? I'm brushing my hair or combing my hair and my muscles are super tired. This is not right.
Right.
That you probably got too many of these particles in your system. And the way we want to clean them out, there is a product called Folium PX. Folium PX is a very powerful antioxidant. It was developed around the time of Chernobyl. They used it over there to help them solve their problem with the population being overexposed to high levels of background radiation. You can go back another page there, just a couple, and you might. There it is. That's Folium PX. Absolutely. And this product is, Orem Barbary is the guy that has the exclusive distributorship for this particular product. But I like it because I geeked out. I went to his office and I spent a few hours going through all the clinicals. I love clinicals, especially whenever they're proving to solve a problem. Not only was this able to clean out radiation, especially people with cancer and going through chemotherapy and radiation, and it's protecting the white blood cells, that was a key telling me this is something we need to pay attention to. Number two, the main thing here is that it also removes things like lead out of your system, mercury out of your system, fluoride, chlorides, chloramines, and petrochemicals. In other words, rocket fuels that just seep into our water supply and they don't completely filter it out. It helps remove all that kind of stuff out of your system too. And I'm saying this is something that everybody should be utilizing one way or another on a daily basis. And you'd be on it for 1 month and off for 1 month with this particular product, but it is vitally important.
And it's an antioxidant, basically?
It's a powerful antioxidant called pycnogenol. It's made from the bark of pine trees. And right now, because of the overall polluting of our planet, they have another level of science where they go and analyze every single bit of the materials they use to make this, to make sure there was no radioactive components in this in any way, shape, or form. So they are taking that extra precaution. The other product that is very, very important that I think is called Divine Vine. It is put out by a company called Huma Life USA. HumaLifeUSA.com is where you can go and get this product. And this is made from something called fulvic acid. Fulvic acid is also very natural. It is one of these things that the creator made. And the pharmaceuticals tried their best to develop or try to copy it in the lab, and they were very unsuccessful. And so they just kicked it under the carpet and decided, let's not tell anybody about this.
Oh, how funny.
But nonetheless, geeks like me find this stuff. And I want to bring it to the people so that you can understand that this Divine Vine is made from fulvic acid. What makes it so outstanding from my perspective is that it has hyper-intelligent molecules. What that means is they are highly adaptogenic, meaning once they get in the body, they already are connected to source mind function. And if you have too much energy, it will collect that extra energy. If you don't have enough, it will give you the energy.
I've never had too much. That's not the issue.
You can be overtly.
Really?
Radiation is too much energy in most cases, and that's why this is so effective.
So
interesting.
So you're telling. Okay. So when you say
it has hyper intelligent molecules,
that's something I definitely lack. But so you're saying that the oceans won't dilute. It's getting in the atmosphere. It's pretty much everywhere we're at. Eating cows and salads, whatever. Fish. So how does a product like this fight radiation? You say lead. All this mercury and stuff.
Well, the Divine Vine, like I said, is because of this very special hyper-intelligent molecule. Mm-hmm. It has about 77 different minerals, and it knows how to just simply create balance. It's highly, highly adaptogenic. That's why I call it hyper-intelligent. It knows what to do to create balance once it gets into biological systems, whether it's you, your cat, your dog, or maybe a few drops in the fish bowl to keep your fish going. This is something that is vitally important because the Divine Vine also has something in it called life crystals. Life crystals were discovered by a hyper genius his name was Dr. George Merkel back in the 90s. And he discovered this because he built a microscope that went 30 million to 80 million diameters. This is not the same as an electron microscope. He was able to watch what life is doing with that level of diameter. And he discovered some highly advanced technologies going on at that level and he found these cosmic incubators and these life crystals at that level. This is what causes something as beautiful as the human body to come into existence and maintain its existence by connecting to source mind function. Source mind function to me is the essence of creation itself. It's what allows us to experience the beauty of our planet to the fullest extent. And what he did was figured out how to concentrate these little life crystals. And before the pharmaceutical companies saw him as a danger, they poisoned him. And, of course, this beautiful mind was destroyed, unfortunately, because these life crystals, he was in Mexico, I was reading, and there was a 6-year-old girl had just passed away due to a serious illness. And he just injected a very small amount of these life crystals into her, and she came back to life. That's a threat to the status quo as we know it.
Now, come on, someone would want to jump on that and patent it and everything, don't you think?
Absolutely. But
come on, Ron.
There's some other people that says, no, oh, hell no. We've got to protect our profits out here. Yeah. And so we can't allow that to go forward. But nonetheless, he did pass his knowledge on to another guy. I'm not going to mention his name. I want to keep him safe.
Keep him alive. Yeah,
yeah, right, at least one.
And he's learned how to incorporate these life crystals into this Divine Vine. So I like these because it's regenerative and it regenerates and highly regenerative to the cellular environment within the interstitial tissues of your body. And so you have the intelligent molecules from the fulvic acid. And it was also discovered by these same group of people that fulvic acid annihilates radiation.
Is that the first time they found anything to annihilate
as far as I am concerned that you can consume?
Wow.
But this was discovered by another guy who actually went to New Mexico, offered this technology to the people that are storing and protecting and trying to keep the radiation out of our environment. And they let him go ahead and use and put in some of these barrels that were containing, and he came back, all the radiation was gone. And then they just told him, you take your product until you ever come back. If you do, we will kill you. So
come on. Now, why wouldn't somebody jump on that? Come on.
That's why I'm thinking too.
Well,
but that's the way they're thinking. Profit is way more important than life itself.
See, this is where where the conspiracy theory comes into play, because we were talking in the green room and you said that your research and your solutions made it to the Royals.
Right.
Could you tell us about that?
Yes. In other words, whenever I built this presentation and it got floated around, and it made its way to the European royals. These are the banking industry. These are the people that put Liechtenstein together. And, of course, they are wealthy beyond measure.
Yeah.
So this has got to be done. But in order for us to do this, we want you to agree to help Europe because we got this same problem. It's no problem. We want this thing to solve this problem on a global scale anyway. And then the Russians found out about it as well. And they said, yes, we need this solution for Chernobyl because Chernobyl is in the process of rearing its ugly head back into the scene again. And they don't want to just put another coating of concrete that's going to wear out in 15, 30 years from now. They would like to get rid of the problem altogether. That's what we want to present and share. And they were explaining to me or to the people that were negotiating that they have a problem called IDS, instant death syndrome. People walking down the streets of Norway and they fall over dead. People driving their car falling over dead. They call it IDS, instant death syndrome. And they don't want to alarm the public, but that is the challenge that they are up against. And believe it or not, it's happening here in the United States too. I just had a friend back in November. He was out marching and he fell over dead.
Wow.
And
wow.
His name was Brock, and I really miss him. He was a good friend. But nonetheless, I was talking to another friend of mine, Dr. Vaughn Harada. He's been studying radiation intensely. He came to one of my presentations, and he has this gift where he can just analyze you right there on the spot and give a measure of what's going on. And he told somebody, tell Dennis to contact me as soon as possible. So the word got back to me, Dennis, you need to call Vaughn. I called him. He said, Dennis, while you were giving your presentation, I messaged you, and you have high levels of plutonium and polonium. I said, what? He said, yeah, I messaged you. And so immediately I went into the next gear to figure out how to get this crap out of me because I know your life is going sideways if it's stuff hanging around in your interstitial tissues for any length of time. So that's where I want to go next is we're talking about I use Divine Vine.
Yeah, hold on. Did he measure you with some device or something? Or
No.
he just looked at you and thought?
He's gifted that
Like
way. It's like a high-level intuitive. He's been helping a lot of people that were suffering from radiation poisoning and didn't know it. And most people are suffering and feeling weak and sick, and the doctors can't figure out what's going on because they're not looking from that perspective. I want people right now under the sound of my voice to understand, take this little piece of information in consideration, and let's look at solutions based on cleaning the stuff out of your brain.
So have you had people that use these products and then like in a month or something they notice a difference? Or?
That's me, yes.
Oh, it happened to you?
Yes. And I'm here I am, doing everything I can to avoid getting poisoned by it, but I still somehow walked into a cloud of this stuff, and because I was feeling weak. I'm up here brushing my hair, why is my arm getting tired? And I knew something.
And after
was
using
off.
this kind of stuff, it stopped.
I'm back on track. I'm able to talk to you right now.
Yeah.
Okay? But nonetheless, I'm just saying a lot of other people are dragging and don't know why. And this is a reason you need to take this into consideration.
Now, hold on. I want to just point out to everyone, because that's one thing I thought. This isn't something you own or you're selling or you get a piece of or anything. This is just something you've discovered,
right? And
you want to spread the word. So you're not like work for this company or anything.
No,
so you're not trying to sell anything. You're not trying to make any money here. You're just saying that this seems to be the solution to people being, was it radiation poisoning, actually?
Yes. And heavy metal poisoning. There's a lot of that going on, especially mercury. After plutonium, mercury is the next level down.
Is that right?
And that's
do
really,
we even
really
have a
toxic.
chance? I mean, it's like,
Right.
do we even have a chance? Like radiation, mercury, lead. It's like, how do we even stand in?
There are many vectors. Like I said, you have a highly intelligent body. Whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you even care or not. There is some infinite intelligence flowing through your body that's working very hard to keep you alive.
Hey, hold on. What about this? What about the radiation from a cell phone walking up against your head all the time?
Yes. Well, I have solutions for that because I am a quantum physicist. That's one of the other hats I wear. And I have developed technology to remediate that type of microwave radiation, going into your body. And what I'm doing, in essence, from my perspective, is I'm not trying to eliminate or lower the amount of energy moving in and out of the phone. I just simply put an energy overlay on the signal such that it doesn't impact your DNA. That has been working for years. And
why didn't you think about it?
Well, didn't we talk about this at the Conscious Life Expo? They were talking about this. We met some people that were. They even said that the lights are really bad. Is that true?
Fluorescent lights, yes, because they use mercury as part of the signature to make that light.
Because they bring their own light bulbs.
Yeah, they brought their own light bulbs into the hotel, right?
And they change it, and then when they leave, they put the other ones back in.
Right. So, but the bottom line is I do have solutions for that. I do have solutions for whole house healing so that all the electricity can flow in concert to protect your DNA. Also, smart meters are a big challenge. I have solutions for that. But not only protecting yourself, protect your whole neighborhood. We can work from that standpoint so that all the energies and the smart meters from your neighbors, when it flies through your house, it'll have that signature that won't harm your children's brain or your brain 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning whenever they are, putting your bill together.
Well, we have about 4 minutes left, and I can't believe how fast this hour has flown.
I thought we had another 40 minutes. That's unbelievable.
And so we'll have to have a part 2 one of these days. So what you're saying is, before we get out of here, I mean, it sounds like you said, we're on a mission, not a mission, but just going to an extinction level event of the world. So if we're taking this product, I mean, we may survive it. So how do we like save the ocean? How do we save the trees? How do we save the cows that's eating the grass? How do we do that too? Because we can't go and just give this product to everything.
You got that right, and that's why I was saying all these nutrients, that's just one aspect. But that is not the complete solution. The earth has to support life itself.
Right.
And
we have to give it a chance to do.
In my research, I have found, well, it wasn't really just me, it was a group of scientists. We have found, in essence, that the frequency of atomic hydrogen also annihilates radiation.
What is that? Say one more time.
The frequency of the atomic hydrogen.
Okay.
The frequency, not the element. The frequency. If I can vibrate the frequency of hydrogen, it will annihilate the harmful effects of radiation. This was basically tested and discovered by a guy named John Hutchison. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's the guy
I've heard that name, absolutely.
that floats 75-pound cannonballs in midair.
Right. Yes.
That's the genius. Him and his wife, Nancy, have been working on it. I've been in touch with them, and they're willing to give the technology. He's learned how to store the frequency of hydrogen on magnetite, and he's created batteries that are self-charging. So we can put these on trees, and the trees will radiate the frequency of hydrogen into the surrounding area and train other trees to do that. They have
that's a whole show right there, man.
They have tested it up to 75 miles of effectiveness.
Unreal.
So
there's pockets now that are free of radiation.
Yes. But the thing is, we have to use this like a surgical knife, because I don't want this technology going and accidentally shutting down a nuclear power plant that's connected to a hospital, that's connected to a respirator, and somebody's breathing, and then all of a sudden we shut down their power source.
And now you're the bad guys.
Absolutely. And that's a national security issue. So we have to do this very carefully and surgically. Now, I want to use the hydrogen for fixing the ocean and restoring the phytoplankton back to their normal function so that they can put oxygen back into the ocean. That is got to happen. But before I can do that, I've got to find where the coriums are and get them remediated out of Fukushima, because that's what's poisoning the process. Because I hear other geniuses are out there. They know how to restore the kelp farms.
But they got to stop
But we got to stop the source of why the kelp decide to break itself away from the ocean and roll up on the ocean. They even the kelp wanted to get out of the ocean.
they're on the beach going, I'm done.
I'm done. This is through. I can't do it no more. And so we've got to solve their problem too, so that they can do their job as part of the ocean ecology. So once that happens, we can take the airplane or jet industry And we can put technology on jets that can remediate radiation as they fly through the air.
So reverse chemtrail.
Reverse chemtrail. So all these flights that are going on around the planet, we can put technology on
somebody's
there.
going to stop you from doing this, right?
Well, that was probably something, but these are solutions, ladies and gentlemen. Please understand that. And from a grassroots standpoint, we can go and fill up these Republicans and Democratic offices and let them know there's solutions out there. We need to get them. Talk to Dennis. He can make it happen.
All right. We have 1 minute, and this is the last question here. Okay, so what's our timeline? What's our timeline? If we don't do this now, 100 years, 50 years, what is our timeline?
I suspect by 2025, the population in the United States could probably be as low as 75 million people.
In 8 years?
Yeah.
That is staggering.
That's my point of view based on what we're presently experiencing.
I'm going to have to look at your math because seems really hard to imagine.
Just look at the obituaries in the newspaper. A few years ago, there was an average about 2 pages. Now it's 3 and 4 pages on average.
Is it statistically our death rate is increasing?
Yes. Now you're not going to hear about that, and they're not
I
going
don't
to
hear
announce
anything.
No, because that's just natural death. So they just go the natural path. They either go get cremated or buried, and that's the end. Life moves on, and that's what is going on. You're not going to be hearing about it, and you're not going to hear Rachel Maddow talking about how many people died today for whatever reason.
The depopulation.
It's just part of the depopulation process. And so that's another show.
Yes, that is.
Yeah,
you're coming back. You're coming back.
Deep topics that you could go down these rabbit holes off this.
Wow. Now I don't want to. All right. So, Dennis, where do people find you? I have your website down here, but where do people find you? How can they find out more information to start the process?
I suspect just go to the Facebook because the trolls have taken my website down.
Really?
Yes. I guess I was giving out too much information because I was getting a lot of positive comments from around the world.
Wow.
And my quantum-based products were selling in Israel, in the Netherlands, and all the way down in Australia because people want to use their cell phones and tablets and electronics like I do, but they don't want them burning out their brain in the process. And so I decided to solve that problem and also the smart meter problem, which is global as well. And you can contact me through Facebook possibly, and I'll be more than glad to share the technology to solve those kinds of problems for you as well, ladies and gentlemen.
This guy's literally doing God's work. I mean, this is amazing. This is really great. I appreciate you putting all this effort into this.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here. And it's an honor to have you on the show. And this information, I know people out there, it's overwhelming to hear what he and we are talking about. But like you said, there are solutions. And so it's not the end game.
It's not.
We still have time.
We are highly intelligent beings, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you even care or not. I'm suggesting that infinite intelligence is moving through everybody that's breathing. And I'm just saying, let's tap into that infinite intelligence on purpose instead of being victims of circumstance.
On that bombshell.
On that note, we're going to say goodbye, but thanks to Dennis. Thank you guys for tuning in. Visit our website, truthbetoldwebtv.com. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on our YouTube channel. Subscribe, leave a comment, and iHeartRadio, all the stuff. So thank you guys. We'll see you next week right here on Truth Be Told.